Okay, good evening. Thank you for coming tonight to this presentation. We'll be discussing on the different elements and components of the MBA at Solvay. Please feel free to interrupt me, ask me questions, because I have some structure, but we can always stop a little bit and discuss about the different elements. And if you have any questions, we can always, of course, discuss also more one-to-one after outside. I just wanted to share a small, I would say, movie on the topic of the MBA. It takes some seconds.
Hi, Tom. I know it's your first day, but we could really use your help. Yeah. Thanks. We're just in a bit of a jam. All this has to get out today.
Yeah. I don't do shipping.
Oh, no. It's very easy. We use FedEx.com. Anybody can do it.
You don't understand. I have an MBA.
Oh, you have an MBA? Yeah. In that case, I'll have to show you how to do it.
FedEx.com makes shipping so fast and easy. Even an MBA can do it. Relax.
So, the idea is effectively to try to tell you effectively why would we need MBAs and why is it important, in fact, to look for an MBA today in today's world. And this was, of course, a counter-example, just to try to give you a teaser for tonight. My first question to you would be, what do you expect from an MBA? So it was from an EMF before, so now it's from an MBA. What do you expect from an MBA? What did you wanted to come tonight and have some information on an MBA? What drives you to examine an MBA program? Sorry?
Having a global view of the business.
Global view of the business? Yeah, a global view, a broad view. So it's business administration, and it stands effectively for a global view, a global broad view on management. Now, of course, in the far past, MBAs might have been seen sometimes as broad but not very deep. Today we are in a different world. We're in a world where you have to be 30 years old, speak 10 languages, have 20 years of experience, be deep and broad at the same time. So at some point, MBAs had to adapt to that environment and provide, I would say, a more complete scheme, of course. And so we try to be broad, but also going deeply enough into the different disciplines of management as well. What else? What else do you expect from an MBA? Career development. Yep. Career development. We also call it a personal and professional development. And this is a very good element that differentiates MBAs from other specialized programs. When you have a program in marketing, in finance, in real estate, in general, the program is about trying to specialize you in a topic that you need to cover. In the MBA, the particularity of MBAs is that it's not just about knowledge. It's really a lot also about the development of your competences. And so I would say that a normal MBA would devote at least 1/3 to career development. Now, career development means first knowing you, knowing your competences, how can you build on the competences which you are probably lacking a little bit. And of course, that is a whole exercise which exposes you a lot. In the MBA, we try to expose you. We try to expose you to situations, to groups, to corporates outside. We have projects, real-life projects with corporate outside. The idea is to try to expose you and to say, who are you? A bit more than in another program which would focus more on the knowledge of a new discipline. So it's career development. What else? Yep.
A source of scientific elements, kind of like water is a source of mineral elements, depending on which type of waters you will have. So I find it like a source.
It's about management tools, you say?
Yes.
Management tools. Yes, of course. So we have courses like operations management, project management, all these courses will try to give you tools, of course, of how to analyze the things. And of course, what makes the MBA, I would say, sometimes more difficult than another program is not only the workload or the fact that you have to assess all the disciplines, is also that you have to understand the different philosophies of each discipline. To think as an accountant is not the same as thinking as a financial guy. It's not the same as thinking as an efficient operations manager. So you have to be able to take the costume of all of these different disciplines and to try to understand. In fact, the idea is to say, well, maybe I won't be all of these guys at the same time afterwards, but I need to be able to talk to these guys afterwards. So typically, that's why you have to take the costume of each discipline during the MBA. What else? Yeah?
Building international network.
Yeah. So international network. So we have, that's why we have in general in bigger institutions, you have, for example, here a full-time MBA and a part-time MBA. This is to try to attract different audiences. When you have a part-time MBA, of course, you will attract international people, but who are still working around the Brussels area, of course. They can travel for the MBA courses, but well, they are still quite regional. When you have a full-time MBA, you attract people from, you have a far reach, and you attract people from other continents who would take a sabbatical year to come to follow an MBA. So it makes sure that whoever you are, a part-time or a full-time MBA, you are in touch with a very international audience. That's clear. So for example, today we have alumni in 75 countries. In the full-time only this year, we had more than 70 nationalities, just to give you an example. So yes, it's international reach. It's also international reach through not only the participants or the audience, but also through the faculty members. So the idea is that our particularity here at Solvay is that we don't pretend we have all the resources here. Since the beginning of our MBA in 1990, we were in fact inviting from the different professors and their network, we were trying to identify those particular faculty members who could teach an MBA. Because to teach an MBA, you need people who are very knowledgeable, but who also can animate a course, animate cases, and to be able to, I would say, have some level of background and experience to be able to address an auditorium who is quite experienced as well. So it cannot just be about giving you knowledge and not trying to create a real animation of the course. What else? Well, it comes from what you said just before about international network. This is a post-experience program, by definition. If you look, for example, at the benchmark of the AMBA association, the UK AMBA accreditation, the average MBA has an average of, the members, the audience of an MBA have an average of 6 years of experience before going to the MBA. Of course, it's an average, and average can hide a lot of outliers. In our case, our average is between 7 and 9 years. 7 to 8 for the full-time and 8 to 9 for the part-time. So in our case, we are considered as quite a senior MBA compared to others. The minimum requirement is 3, the average is 6, and we are, I would say, between 8 and 9, which makes this MBA particularly quite senior. So we attract an audience of participants between 30 and 40, but we might have people from 50 and more. For example, if you have a surgeon having to manage a hospital, you can guess that the surgeon won't have, I would say, only 30 years. He has already 13 years of studies, plus 5 of specialization, plus. So if you start being a surgeon going to a level of management of a hospital, you probably are above the 50s, and so you still want to do an MBA. So the MBA attracts people who are, in our case, between 30, 40, 45, but of course the diversity exists a lot as well. Okay? Which enriches, of course, the audience. I think we have pretty much everything here. So different disciplines, global, broad, career development, management tools. But of course, be careful. The idea is not only to have tools, but to know how to apply them and when to apply them, when not to apply them. And so this is part, of course, of the case-based study. So by definition, you won't have an ex cathedra course like you might used to have when you were a bachelor, as we all did. But this is really a program where we try really to put you in an ambience of learning, but interactive always. So our MBA has a mission like all the MBAs, and our mission is to develop an international audience into responsible managers, entrepreneurs, and leaders. And this is clearly very important. Not everyone can be a leader, a manager, and an entrepreneur at the same time. Almost nobody. So some of you will be more entrepreneurs, some of you will be more manager, efficient managers, and some of you will be more leader. But you will have to try to assess those three notions through your MBA. Leader doesn't mean to be necessarily a CEO. It means leading a team, leading a working team, to be able to bring a project to success, and with a team of people who, by definition, in many cases are not chosen by you, but have been chosen for you. And therefore, that's also what you will have at the MBA level. You will have, in fact, projects where you won't decide which project you are doing, and nor with who you are doing it. So you will be really put into the real context in many cases. So the idea is it's a challenging program, but still feasible. The MBA is very challenging, maybe more challenging than any other program, because by definition it's a workload which requires you to be focused on your MBA. So don't tell your wife or your husband that you will be, it's just for this week, honey, don't worry, because that won't be the case. We don't want to be responsible for any divorces. So you have, of course, to manage expectations. That's the main, I would say, motto of an MBA is you learn people how to manage expectations. Because as long as you manage expectations, you can do everything. But you have to make sure to manage expectations. But it's a doable program. It's a challenging but feasible program because, of course, you have a whole team of 7 people plus the coaches. So in total, we have more than 25 people of staff plus 30 professors, making sure that these 50 people at the end of the year try to be there to help you in pursuing your MBA up to success. So in general, it's me who says, yes, we can. And at the beginning, they don't believe me too much, but of course, at the end, it's an audience who, at the end in June, is starting to ask now, what are we doing in the summer? Are you sure? Do you have something to do for us when you're in the summer? At the beginning of the year, they're always a bit scared about, okay, what's an MBA? How should we manage our workload? But at the end, these people have been able to manage a workload. 2 girls there in this picture have been giving birth during their MBA, so yes, it's possible. So we men have to learn from that, I think, because yes, it's possible. Okay, it's possible, and with a smile. This MBA is part of a business school, which is part of a university. So that is also something which characterizes us. So you have 2 types of business schools from private bodies and business schools in a university environment, which in our case ensures that inside the same business school we have in fact the 3 missions of research, teaching and executive education, which are covered all together. So which means that we share the same values and standards around. We have a network of more than 18,000 alumni. The school represents more than 500 faculty, out of which 55 to 60, depending on the years and the sabbatical exchanges, are in fact full-time faculty of our business school. So still you have 400 and something professors who come through our schools every year. That's international. It's bringing people from Lisbon, from HEC Paris, from INSEAD, from all over the place to teach with us. So we are sharing the same values, the same standards as the biggest institutions. We have courses where we have even 2 professors teaching the same course. So the idea is to each teach half of the course, with the idea of bringing you different perspectives, different, I would say, starting points to the same material. For example, the course of IT and e-commerce is taught by the Dean of Pont et Chaussées in Paris and by a professor in IT and e-commerce from Lisbon. So we try to have also a very international professor body. Our professor of managerial accounting, Alan Southworth, comes from Manchester. I come myself from Switzerland. So we try to have a very, very diversified. Even the professors who are here teaching at this business school full-time are not necessarily coming from Belgium. Yeah, I was showing this slide because last year we were celebrating our 20 years. So this is not an MBA that has been created 5 years ago. This is really an MBA which is there since the 1990s. So with the first wave of people coming back from US saying, oh, maybe we should create an MBA here as well. And so we were part of the first MBAs created in Europe. And that's also a seal of quality. We are there since the last 20 years, delivering quality and excellence, and with an audience who has been following us since the last 20 years as well. So I wanted to just give you 10 good reasons to apply for the MBA Solvay and to review them with you. And please stop me if you have any questions. Are there any questions, by the way, so far? No? So maybe you will have some now. First of all, we are internationally accredited. So we have the EQUIS accreditation and the AMBA accreditation. So AMBA is one of the 2 main accreditations. It's the UK-based one. You have AACSB in US. This one has the UK accreditation. AMBA is one of the best-known accreditation bodies for MBAs. I quite believe a lot about this seal of quality in the sense that accreditations is really a full exercise. It's a full exercise where every 5 years, if you have no conditions, every 3 years if you have some conditions, but every 5 years you get really audited by people who are deans of MBAs worldwide. So for example, in 2009 we were audited for the 2nd time, and it was by people who were between 55 and 65 years old, with a number of accreditations behind them of 63 to 67 accreditations. So they really come and benchmark you against other MBAs. Whatever you say in your prospectuses, in your documents, are audited. They interview alumni, current participants. They interview even people who have been failing the MBA to make sure that there's nothing hidden behind. So they try to interview really a broad audience, and the idea is to make sure that when you say I have an MBA as AMBA accredited, that everybody knows what the seal of quality means. So they verify the number of hours, the number of staff members that are there with you. They verify many, many, many ingredients, and I think that's also a seal of quality. As I said, we attract top academicians. I already mentioned that, from Hayward, Liverpool, Nova de Lisboa, Bristol, Warwick, Manchester, Pont et Chaussées in Paris. So that's our strength here, is that you probably get also an MBA program which is in fact much in shape with what is being taught in other business schools as well. So we take advantage of whatever other business schools are developing. As you can see here, the faculty members are very diversified. We have every Tuesday evening BVS sessions, or Business Voice Series. So that attracts an additional number of 32 expert practitioners helping to teach with us different materials. And you see that more or less people who are located in Belgium, not necessarily Belgium, but located in Belgium is 21 professors, and 18 come from abroad. You have a brand new building. That was the third reason to apply for this MBA. We were before in some nice houses all over the campus here, which was very romantic, but not very practical. So of course the alumni would say, oh, it was nice to have the small houses. Today, of course, the current participants do love this place because, for example, 2 weeks ago they were presenting to the EU their project on the electric vehicles, because we had 2 projects of the EU grant to combine with a consortium of companies on electric vehicles, and they have been able to book 10 rooms in the building because they needed 10 rooms for the different workshops, etc. So that is something we can do now, we couldn't do before, and so that's also a good point for us. You also have the staff with Cornelia, Nicola Meus, our director of the exec, but also all the staff of the MBA, Chiara Battistelli, that you have been probably been in touch with to register for tonight's session. All the staff is very close to you also in the building and ready to help. We have 4 pillars which add 4 additional strengths, and this is something that was praised by AMBA when auditing our MBA, because we try to make sure we have different components well covered in the MBA. The academic pillar is the different courses on the different disciplines of management, the various disciplines of management, and as you will see, they are separated into 4 main competence areas. The personal and professional development, that's about the career development. Now, career development is a bit, I would say, narrow-minded. It's really personal and professional development in the sense that it's not just for your career, it's for your visibility, for your resonance, for the way to work in teamworks, for the way to work with, to lead teams. So I can tell you that when you have a group with 5 people, you have a Japanese, a Chinese, an Ukrainian, Brazilian, and a US person. That's quite diverse, and it's very helpful to understand, in fact, how to manage a cross-cultural group with different approaches to the same subjects. That's part also of the personal and professional development. The integrative module, which is one of the big pieces here in this MBA, is to say, well, academic courses, of course, are through the various disciplines, are case-based, but let's do more than just being case-based. Let's try to be real-life case-based. So the idea of the integrative module is to say we won't choose, the typical cases that we tend to use in the courses, which are real, of course, but from the past. We'll try to use current cases. So we try to expose you to 3 different kinds of possibilities. First, the business field projects. So the international business field projects. These are real-life projects which are brought to the school. Companies pay for that, to have a consulting team from the MBA. And we have McKinsey and Capgemini coaches who will assist and coach you through this IBFP project. So the idea is really to take projects which are of a level N or N-1. So we only take strategic projects, and we in fact map a group of 2 to 3 people to this project. It lasts for 3 months during the MBA, so it's a 3-month period, and you are coached every week, and you're supervised. So we have a triangulation between the client, you, and in fact the school, which is there to make sure that everything goes in the right direction. I will show you some examples of that. We also have the business plan. The business plan is to be able to have that kind of coaching, but for your own idea. So you have to create groups. You have to convince your partners about an idea that you would like to launch after your MBA, and you have coaches assisting you in preparing a business plan for the, I would say, company you are trying to virtually design. Now it's virtual in the MBA, but half of them have been really showing up as real companies after the MBA, which is great news. So we can also show you many examples of companies, small companies, startups, which are being taking life after the MBA. And last and least, we have the ACSS, which is in fact the same idea as the ABFP, but the ABFP in 99% of the cases is reserved to the full-timers, because, well, when you are going to work on strategic projects brought by companies and you are working yourself on the job, we might have a lot of conflicts of interest that would be unmanageable or decrease the value of the project. So we allow you to do the ACSS, and the ACSS in fact is the same thing as the IBFP, but the idea is it's Applied Corporate Strategy Seminar, and the idea is to allow you to bring a project from your own company. So you are gaining groups, and in the group you say, well, I have a nice idea from my company I could work with, and we coach you around that idea for your own project. So everybody can choose the business plan plus either the IBFP as a full-timer or the SSS as a part-timer. And then we have the fourth pillar, which is not part of the grading scheme of the MBA, because all of the three components are part of the grading scheme. The Career Advancement Program. Career Advancement Program and Corporate Relations. It's a service where we try during your MBA to expose you as much as possible to the market, to the job market. So we build a CV book with you, we assess you in the way you write your CV. So this is also career development, but more in the sense of this is for you intrinsically and this is for your visibility towards the outside world. It's really a facultative service we give here. Of course, it's not graded, but it's a big part of the MBA as well. You have coaching sessions on how to do interviews, or how to interview, how to be interviewed in both directions. And I think that's also a great value to your MBA. So we use professional people who are in fact completely integrated into our MBA for that coaching. So 4 pillars. And let me go to the competence areas of the academic part. So we have 4 competence areas. So we have 10 to 11 courses which are grouped into 4 big layers. So whatever is control, accounting, finance, then a layer of entrepreneurship, then a layer more on economic courses, so macro and micro. So this is a macro course, this is a micro course, which is part historically of all MBAs, to give you all the ingredients. And then you have a layer which is more about CSR, operations management, so it's efficiency and responsibility, if you want, of the firm. OB, organizational behavior, operations management, IT and e-commerce, and different courses you will have then on the specialized skills. Our particularity is that you have 11 courses which are core courses, which takes place between, I would say, October and February. And then for the rest of the year, you have elective courses. And you have to choose several courses from that elective sample. So these are just a sample of them. So we have close to 18 elective courses actually. And you have to choose, I would say, between 5 and 6 of them. Now you're allowed to choose all of them if you want. So we have sometimes some people, some Martians, who in fact take all of the courses. Now of course some people might regret to leave one elective behind because of the workload. The good news is that during the 3 years following your MBA graduation, you are allowed to come for free to audit one of these courses that you would like to. One or more. Okay? So that's, of course, the idea of the electives. The idea of I would say, the core courses is to have a common level playing ground for everybody. The idea of the elective ones is to allow you to refine or specialize more. So in negotiation analysis, entrepreneurship, corporate social responsibility, we have a trip to Hong Kong in China. So we take the Easter period every year, and we take 10 days of the Easter period, and we travel to Hong Kong and China. It's an elective, so you can choose or not choose it. I highly recommend it because I can tell you that the ambience when they go back is quite great. And so it's a course which starts here to be projected in China. So we have a course in Hong Kong, at Hong Kong University for 10 days with, I would say, a visit to Shenzhen. to mainland China during the course as well. Branding, so for example, the course of marketing. The course of marketing is leading to this specialized course on branding and strategic management. The course, for example, on finance is leading to a course on risk management. Then after, in the elective sample, we also have Peter Taylor, for example, from Manchester, coming to specially teach about financial statement analysis, etc., etc., etc. So we have a sample of 18 courses in total. I would like just to go to, in fact, the idea. So you have an academic pillar, which covers, in fact, a number of credits. Then the projects that you will take, so the BP plus the ACSS or the ABFP. Then you have credits also for the personal and professional development. And then as a service, you have the career advancement program. So which makes that a total of 62 to 63 credits after your MBA. So the minimum requirement for an MBA following AMBA is 60 credits, so we are just above it. And here you see a bit the split of the different ECTSs. So typically some of all the courses have 3 credits, and the projects have more because you have more involvement, more preparation time, etc. Just coming back on the ABFP, typically if you see the new bottle of Champfontaine, that was an IBFP project. Okay. Some projects of Infrabel, that was an IBFP project. The new consortium here of Fiat, Renault, P&G, Transport for London, Better Place about the new electric vehicles, that is also using 2 of the projects of Solvay. So typically we try to take really big projects for these different companies and to put a real team of students who don't know what projects and with who they will be working. That's the great surprise. Entrepreneurship with a business plan, and then the applied corporate strategy seminar for the part-timers who would like to use a case from their own company. So in total you have 2 programs. I will just take 1 second please and switch quickly. I will just take a quick look at a spreadsheet which will be more useful for you to see quickly the framework. Okay. Here we are. Yes. So just to give you an idea of the timing. So if you take the 1 year MBA or the 2 years MBA, so the part-time or the full-time, you will have exactly the same kind of yearly schedule. So if you take the part-time, it's not that you have 1 year of core courses and 1 year of electives. You would have always, for each year, a part of month which is about core courses and the rest which would be about electives. And the idea is to give you some breath and not to have a full-blown fixed year and then a very, I would say, divergent selection of electives, and to make sure you see back your colleagues from time to time in different courses. Just to give you an idea, every year, so of course here I'm using the dates of this year, but okay, there's just a small change of weeks for the next year. But it gives you a right idea about how the terms are defined. So we separate the year into 7 terms. The terms are made of 7 weeks, out of which 6 are weeks of potential courses taking place. And the week number 7 is either for a break between the terms, either for group presentations, either for exams. So there's an exam week or presentation week here every 7th week of each term. So you start with a term in early October, 7 weeks, then one which goes across Christmas, which is good because the idea is not to pressure you too much before Christmas, but to allow you to breathe a little bit around Christmas and to come back and finish quietly your term. Then you have a third term in January and February. During that third term, you start to have access to, in fact, elective courses. That's where the core courses start to end. Then you have the fourth term, which always happen around April and Easter. Easter being the 2 weeks where the Hong Kong trip takes place. Then term number 5 is May and June. The 6th is the summer break, but a summer break which can be used for those of you who would like to make an exchange or an internship or a business plan. So for example, this year they have decided, many groups have said, well, we have quite a workload, so can we just be coached over the summer so we will have more time to dedicate to our business plan? And that is something we allowed. Typically this is time that can be used or just to take some time for your private life as well. And then you come back for the term number 7, which in fact takes place in September, where you have your last electives, last submissions of projects, and then you stop your MBA. If it's a 1-year program, if it's a 3-year program, you are back for a second round trip. Of course, in terms of workload, the idea is the following. The one year MBA is just, in fact, the same program, but with twice the, I would say, density. So can you raise your hand who would be potentially be applying more for the full-time and for the part-time? Full-timers potentially here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't be shy. Okay, 5. So if you take the 1-year program, you will have courses on evenings of Thursday and Friday plus the full day of Saturday. If you see, I have 4 blocks there. You don't see them maybe well, but this is 1 block, this is 2 blocks, and this is 2 blocks. Okay, every block has 3 hours. So it's 4 blocks of 3 hours each. Every course has 24 hours. Okay? So 4 blocks of 3 hours makes 12 hours. So if you would like to see, I would say, our correspondence, 1 full course can take place over 2 weekends in the highest density kind of scheme. Okay? In many cases, we try to spread the course more. So you would have, for example, 2 evenings on 1 course, Saturday on another course. So after 4 weeks, you would have completed 2 courses. Okay? It means that over a term of 6 weeks plus an exam week, you might have, as a part-timer, not more time than for 2 or 3 courses over a single term. Okay? That's the maximum number you can put in. Now, if you are following the full-time program, on top of that, you have 4 more squares which are possible. Sorry, my Wednesday is a bit enlarged, but stretched. But you have 4 more blocks, so double rhythm. So you have daytime of the same magnitude happening during the week, mostly Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And don't believe this is free time, because this is time for group work or preparation. So it's not because they are whole that it's free time necessarily. So part-timers only this place, on this part, and full-timers have, in fact, half of the courses or their time in interaction with part-timers, and the other half during the week, in daytime. And then the green part is the facultative part. Every Tuesday evening you have a business voice series, but it goes from presentation skills, filming you, how do you present, to more specialized topics. We have Bruno Coleman coming from a course on finance in banking, etc. So you have different professors, practitioners coming and adding to your experience. And in the program you have to follow a certain number of them. So you have 32 Tuesdays during 1 year. If you follow the 2 years program, you have 64 occasions to follow a BVS, and we ask you to follow a certain number of them for sure over your program. By the way, the coaches help you a lot. The coaches for the career development will tell you, well, given your competences, you should probably not miss this kind of BVS because that's about presentation skills and you need some. So the idea would be you would have coaches, of course, telling you what you should be focusing on. The orange part is also facultative in the sense that it won't occur every week, by far not. The orange part is, we try to focus this on Mondays or evenings for part-timers. It's when you have, I would say, coaching sessions for personal and professional development. And in general, this is, you have some courses, but most of them are on a private basis in small groups. So in that case, you will in fact define an agenda with your coach, depending on your workload, and then they will find the right places to take these sessions with you. So it's a gray area because this is the time where it can take place for the full-timers. It will be, of course, on evening times for the part-timers, and this is decided on a case-by-case basis with your coaches. Okay?
For the evening courses, are they always the same days every week? They vary.
So yes.
Is that literal that it's Thursday, Friday?
Yeah. It's a perfect question. So yes, for 95%. Why? Because we have some exceptions. We have Guido Cricks coming from University of Carolina, the state of Carolina, or California. Also, we have one professor. We have also a professor coming from UK. That's closer, of course, thanks to the Eurostar. But for people coming from the West Coast, you can imagine that coming 4 times would be a bit difficult. Otherwise, we just rent a place for them and they stay here for 4 weeks. So there are 2 cases where professors come on a more, I would say, dense way. So when we have the professor from the West Coast coming, Guido Cricks, he tends to use, in fact, all the evenings of 1 week. But then we tell you in advance. You know it in advance. It only occurs twice in the program, and you are well, I would say, prepared for that.
Yeah, especially for, I mean, if you're traveling
for
your work.
For example, the calculation of having Thursday and Friday. Well, we were doing some statistics about when do companies send most of the time their employees. So Monday was not very good, and of course not the mid of the week. So that's why we try to cluster that to a weekend. Okay. Of course, there are always arrangements possible. We had, for example, a candidate who, during the MBA, was sent to South Korea. Not North Korea, South Korea, not by us, but by the company for 2 months. So he said, well, what can I do? So we found a way for him to still follow the MBA. The audience helped a lot in filming the courses, etc. And for some cases, what we did was to find him a professor when he came back to have special sessions to recover.
And are all the courses available online?
Yeah, so we have an intranet where you connect and you have all the notes. So we use we have a MySBS, if you want, a MySBS intranet where every course has all the material there to be downloaded. On top of that, you have all the services of libraries for articles from. So you have a login from the university, and from wherever you are in the world, you can download articles, press articles. You have an access to the Harvard Business Review also for free. So you have many accesses to information. Okay?
Thank you.
On top of that, what we do also is that what happens is that sometimes we have full-timers who say, oh, I found a job opportunity. What can I do? Well, since the idea of the MBA is to help you make a step up in your career, we won't prevent you from finishing your MBA, of course, or from taking the job. So typically in that case, we will reassess how we can split your full-time into a part-time mode again, typically. Okay? Again, the main motto of the MBA is manage expectations. If we know well in advance that you will have a problem because of the job, and we can have the time to manage it, of course the staff will be there to try to find the best solution for you. That's for sure. We will make sure professors know it. They know that you will be, in fact, a little bit abroad, etc. So it's easy to do it if we are, I would say, in touch with the information in advance. Okay? That's the executive course. We try always to please you in the limits of the possibilities, or to find ways to react in another way. Okay? On top of that, we have a full-time and a part-time. So we had people saying, well, my company is sending me for 2 weeks, but it's allowing me to take 2 days off to take daytime courses. So we reshuffle, and that's possible, of course. Hopefully not all the audience will reshuffle at the same time, because then it starts to be a little bit scary for the staff in terms of management of program. But, well, you understand.
That's about courses, but you also have some teamwork or work to do with other participants.
Yeah.
Then you arrange
Yeah. Again, the idea is that, well, you manage the group, work with them, and you try to find ways to cope with the material. So really, the MBA is about an exchange between participants. For the person going to Korea, there were group works. Well, he was trying to do a lot of work before going, then he was off, but through Skype, and then he was trying to cope with the group to do more work when he was back. You know, you have the idea is about an exchange. We will never here in an MBA monitor who was doing exactly what. Okay, the idea is that you are supposed to take your own responsibilities versus your own peers. And in general, it won't be us who will judge you, it's more your peers who will be judging you. That's for sure. Okay? More questions about what I've been already showing? So just to give you a little bit of the idea of the timing. So you have core courses up to term 3, and then elective, very few of them starting already sometime in the second term, but most of them starting in the term 3, and still in the term number 7. So that gives you an idea a little bit of where the courses take place, and then we reserve term 4 and 5 for, in fact, the integrative pillar, where you have projects, real life projects. Okay, so in term 4 and 5, you are supposed to be careful about taking time for the projects and to keep some time for the electives. For the rest of the time, you have BVS all the year, and you have coaching sessions all over the year at different points in time, of course, not all the time. And you have personal and professional development, mostly at the beginning of each year. Okay? Because for full-timers, typically, once you have had this, the idea is to work on your city book here and to make sure to have the maximum of exposure during terms of 4 and 5. It makes sense a lot to have this summer break and not to finish just before the summer, because what we realize is that more and more the year is really clustered in terms of job activity. And so what we realize is that if we launch you after graduation in the summertime where all the businesses are half closed, this is maybe not the best time to launch you out. If you are here during the summer, you can still contact the coaches, the professors, you can still prepare yourself for your visibility, and finishing when the activity restarts in September allows you to, in fact, be launched at the time where the activity has restarted outside, and this, I think, is much better. Okay? Okay, so this was a summary. So it's the 2 years program is just simply the simple speed program, and the 1 year program is just going at the double speed. So it means 2 to 3 courses per term, 4 to 5. And the timings is always between 6 and 9 p.m. for the evening courses, and in daytime it's from 9 to 12 and 1 to 4 in general. Okay? Of course, when you have a full day on one single course, single type of course, it will be a day animated with cases, so we won't let you sleep. So we will make sure that animation is ongoing. We won't serve a too big dinner at lunchtime, quite light, to make sure you don't sleep too much at 1 when you are back in the course. And of course, in general, what we do is that we try to teach more the tools in the morning and more the cases in the afternoon to lighten a little bit your day. Okay? Questions? Everything is under control? Any worries, fears?
Do you have any estimation for, or I guess it's difficult to say, but the time that's required when you're not here? So how much should we allocate for actually?
Yeah. Well, honestly, you can double the time. So you say, well, you have around 500 hours of teaching courses, plus the coaching sessions, etc. But of teaching time, pure teaching time, is 500 plus. So it means that you need to dedicate at least the same amount of hours to prepare and to be, I would say, involved in the courses. And preparation is key because it allows you to be, on the horse much quicker. When you prepare, you read. Of course, for each course, we tell you what to pre-read. I think that's one of the biggest qualities of the MBAs for an employer. Is not only what you learn, is also what you represent after an MBA. A person who has been going through an MBA is a person who was able to have a self-discipline to manage a private life, the work, and the MBA at the same time. And that is also very valuable for an employer. It's somebody who has been able to cope with that, to find the right way to manage his time or her time. And if everybody would do an MBA, of course, that wouldn't have a value anymore. But those of you who want to really not to regret not to have taken the challenge in the past, I really recommend you to go through this opportunity of doing an MBA, because it's really a change of mindset, a great ambience, and frankly speaking, you can talk to any alumni, they would say, I don't know what to do this summer. The summer is there, and what do I do now? Tell me what to do. And I think this shows that, and we have many alumni coming back, by the way, the years after to follow additional electives, because they don't want to quit. They are still there, mingling with us, benefiting from the school and the network opportunities they can have. Yeah?
You have mentioned the peers. How they are created?
Mm-hmm. The groups?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in fact, we have, that's a very good question, because we have a long experience in that, and that experience tends to be updated in the sense that some years we say, well, maybe we should do fixed groups. And then if you have only fixed groups, you realize that you might have some problems of some type. Then you have only unfixed groups. So everybody can choose whenever they want. And what we see there is that you also have other problems. Typically, what we don't like too much from having only, I would say, flexible groups, is that we would see more people going back more directly to the zone of comfort. Like all engineers together, or lawyers together. So you see that after a while, if you just have flexible groups, people don't necessarily are not necessarily pushed to make the effort of trying to find a way to manage a group, but after the first small problem, they split and they say, okay, I'll go back to my zone of comfort. So that's why we try to have both. So we have fixed groups and we have flexible groups. So we have both. One year we had the best candidates who were not opting for, they were taking a lot of elective courses, but never the real life project. And we say, why did you take that? And we realized it was for risk aversion. They were averse to risk, so they say, well, I stay in my zone of comfort. And we say, no, but that's not what an MBA should promote. An MBA should promote, to push you in the arena, Because, well, the MBA is still a very nice laboratory. It's the first time and maybe the last time of your life where you can make errors and make errors again and learn from your errors without any consequence, outside. So you have to be able to grasp that value by making sure you use this laboratory, which is the MBA, for yourself. It would be a shame not to use it and to get out and say, oh, I regret because I could be in touch with how I could cope with something, but I didn't want to do it because I wanted to manage my credits in my MBA. No, come on. Okay, there are grades at the end, because we still have to be careful that the degree has the value it's supposed to have. But for the rest, it's about your experience. We don't care about the grades once you're finished. Okay, so the grades is an administrative point that we need to take care of for the quality and excellence of the MBA. For the rest, it's about what you get from it, and so you should focus first on that. As I said before, all the winners were playing, except for one case recently. All the cases we know about people not finishing the MBA is cases of people who have been very honest to say, I'm sorry, but I can't cope with the volume. Can I just maybe interrupt my MBA, etc. So people know it from themselves in general. We are a big family here, and we know quickly when somebody has a hard time. And it's very honest to say, and of course we can manage it if he or she is honest. But the people who are being able to cope and to produce the effort have had their MBA at the end. Okay? Because you have anyhow warnings and signals and feedbacks all the time, so you know it. We don't wait for June to say, oh, I think you should be careful. So you are assessed all the time.
Some success rate figures?
Sorry?
Success rate figures?
Yeah, Chiara, success rate figures. About the program, people taking the program.
People following, for example, this 2 years program.
It's like
how many people
succeed,
graduate?
yeah. Succeed once they have...
yeah, so the dropout is like 1%, as you say.
Yes,
There must be
99% of people who are studying the MBA finish in general.
When you commit for such a program like an MBA, you know what you want to get, so you probably arrive at the end. Of course, we had in the past 1-2 cases of people who could not arrive at the end, but not more.
Yeah.
And then for the career progression after, of course, it's depending on your particular objective, you would reach what your objective is. So the reason why you take an MBA through the Career Advancement Program, which is a tailor-made program based on your particular talents, strengths, potentials, and what you want to get after the MBA, there the satisfaction is very high.
For example, we will never leave a candidate in its corner. So, for example, if we see that somebody is lagging behind, the coaches will call him and say, hey, what's going on? What do you do? We won't wait for you to come to us and say, after some months, in fact, you didn't see me for some months, but I was having a problem. So when we say 99, it's because maybe it's 97, but 2% were managed, and 1% was still saying, I'm sorry, but I can't cope. Okay. But it's never more than over 30 people. It's never more than 2. That's really what we see on average, but it's really to never see more than 2. And it's only recently that we had to take a decision, for example, to cancel a person who wasn't committing and who wasn't really, I would say, understanding that. You know, most of the time people know it, realize themselves, and we manage with them.
Don't have to forget that there is an admission process, a selection process, or the screening that we do before getting into the MBA is accurate. So there is an application form. We will look at your academic records, your professional experience, your motivation to do this MBA, the test, the results of the test. So when you are into the program, you normally are committed, are the right person to succeed after the MBA, and there is a pre-selection, of course.
Motivation is clear. And when we ask you typically what you expect from the MBA, but what you want to give to MBA as well, so to the other participants, what can you provide to your colleagues in an MBA? That's the idea behind it.
Can you speak a little bit more about some coaches and the role
Yeah.
of the coaches and where they come from and how they just are different from professors?
So you have coaches for the personal and professional development, and you have coaches for the real life projects. For the real life projects, we have in fact practitioners, senior practitioners, who are the supervisors of the project with the client, and below them they have a coordinator and one coach for each project. And these coaches come from, I would say, our network in the big consulting companies. So it happens that for the time being we have people from Capgemini and McKinsey, but for the time being it's based on that network, and the coaches we find who have time to really take the time after the job to coach are. But we want to use professional coaches who are really on a mission themselves. That's for the IBFP, business plan, etc. In entrepreneurship, for example, we have coaches from the entrepreneurial world. So we have people coaching startups, etc. typically. So it's more specific. In the PPD, we have in fact 2 full-time persons who take the management of the whole PPD pillar, 2 persons, a more senior one and a more young one. And they themselves hire coaches for personal and professional development. So they hire a series of coaches depending on the size of the groups and how many groups, how many students they have every year. And also sometimes they reinforce it when they need more sessions. So people tend in general to, you have 2 types of people going to an MBA. You have people who in general, from my experience, that's a personal opinion, so I take some risks. But you have a fraction who knows exactly where an MBA lies into their path. Okay, I know that my firm will want to promote me to this managerial position. So I need an MBA because otherwise, okay. And so these persons in general come to an MBA wanting to have a step up, an enhancement, but they know where they are going. Okay, so of course that kind of I would say participants will in general take the personal and professional development like a way of enhancing their skills, etc. But they won't come for what the others come for. And the others come for orientation a lot. So, and the other type is people who say, I'm at the cornerstone of my career. I don't want to stick to my specialization anymore. I want to go more in positions where I can grow up in the firm. But for that, I need to get out of my specialization. I'm an accountant and I'm seen as an auditor only. I want to get out of that. I'm heading a research team. I want to more be the marketing, because there I can go to more managerial positions. Well, these are people who are asking themselves some questions about how they should reorient their career. And of course, these people will in general take the enhancement of skills, but also the part on orientation. And they will require much more from the coaches, because they would ask, well, what should I do? Why? What is more suitable to me, given my perceptions? Okay?
Maybe a bold question, but if one would compare different MBA programs from London, Paris, Rotterdam, and Brussels, why do you think we should choose for Solvay?
Good question. I think, first of all, I think that all MBAs have a spirit over time. There are MBAs focusing on leadership for CEOs and CFOs. We focus here at a step up in your career with people who are between 35 and 45. And that is where is our specialty. We think we have also a great flexibility of bringing people from a lot of places. So the material you would get here would be almost essentially the same material you would get from other big business schools. Because we hire people from there. And they come not because we hire them in some sense, they come because they have an affectio societatis with the professors of this school. It's the professors of the school who, through the network, having, in fact, collaborating with different peers across the, and that's why research is very important. Research is not important necessarily in MBA directly, but it's important for the school because it generates a network of people in every specialization. And so not everybody can be a researcher and at the same time an animator of an MBA course, but through the network you know who is good and who can be used to teach and animate a course. And in most of the cases, between different places, sometimes not the directly competing one on the regional setting, but on a more further distance MBAs, we tend to talk between directors and say, I spot a guy who's really nice for that particular topic. And we try, of course, there's a network of good animators who are academic but also very pedagogic, who can really follow an MBA course with the audience. And so at the end of the day, in terms of, if you look only at the knowledge part, a good MBA teach, I would say, the same material. And so you try to have people who can really motivate, be passionate about the topic first. For the rest, it's more about then the network or the typical I would say, type of reach you want to get with your MBA in terms of there are MBAs who are focusing only on people who are the latest notch, which is a CEO. You have MBAs which focus more on entrepreneurship, so people willing to. So in this MBA, we try to focus on people who are reorienting themselves, and then they don't know if they want to stay in big groups or found their own company. That's typically one of our strengths here. Okay. So in my case, I have my own company aside, and I've hired MBAs from Solvay. It was a startup company at that time, typically. So I want to do something more. Okay, and these people now is doing something on their own aside of the school here. We have people who have been creating the biofood company after their MBA. So you have some people who realize through the MBA that they have more a mindset of entrepreneur. Others who realize they have more the mindset of leaders, and others who are more the mindset of managers. So to be able to better manage, not to be afraid of big environments, etc. I always laugh about one anecdote. I was once visiting a bit what was happening during the breaks, and I saw one of the participants coming to me and say, "Oh, this entrepreneurship course is very dangerous. It's very dangerous." I say, why is it dangerous? Why is it dangerous? Because it's like everybody goes out of this course thinking, I can be an entrepreneur myself. I know some of these, they would be really bad entrepreneurs, so we have to be careful. So that's the MBA, is to try to push you in different directions and try to let you assess in which direction you want to go. And there are many which are very diverse. And that is something also that is very important for the MBA, is that when you talk to other people around you, at the beginning you are the big family together because you do groups together, you have to defend your projects together. And of course, sooner or later, you realize that people around you, some are finally more willing to stay in big companies or to develop a company or to do a startup company. We have one of our very good students who was going to Argentina because he was a fanatic of sports, of extreme sports, and he founded a team management company, a teamwork company to bring practitioners and big extreme activities to enhance the team spirit. And now he founded this company in Argentina after his MBA. You have people who, for example, here, we have people who have been going back to Africa and found an NGO company. So typically here we have an elective which is about NGOs, and which we recommend a lot to people not going for NGOs, by the way, because it's really a different ambience. You are put in contact with people who are managing NGOs in crisis times, so it's crisis managing all the time. And that is very helpful even for people going from non-NGO companies. So that's the scope that we focus on. Okay. But I don't believe so much about differences of, at some point you have accreditations, you have the same disciplines, it's more the shape and the form, the possibilities you have. We have this Hong Kong trip, going to China. We have a huge network of people here around Solvay. That's what you want to get also from the MBA. Okay? I think it's maybe time, if you want to still take advantage of some drink with us outside. I'll be there sticking for some time still for you, so if you want to ask more questions. If you want, sometimes one thing we recommend to you a lot is if you think that your case is a little bit particular, you are not knowing if an MBA is for you, of course it's a decision you have to take, and it's a big one. So if you think you need more, I would say, a reflection on how it would suit you, please talk to Pirotte, and she can arrange a meeting with me, and then we can discuss more in detail. Okay? Thank you.